From the potential of an exciting bout against his longtime nemesis Gamebred, to denying a deserving Belal Muhammad the chance. Here's why picking an opponent for Leon Edwards has been so difficult. Step right up, fight fans. Leon "Rocky" Edwards recently pulled off a stunning upset over Kamaru Usman. Dana White, the head honcho of the UFC, is pretty adamant about Colby Covington being next in line for a title shot. But Edwards isn't having any of it. The Rocky-like underdog has his sights set on bigger and better things, namely the winner of Gilbert Burns vs Jorge Masvidal. Meanwhile, poor Belal Muhammad is trying to elbow his way into the spotlight. And then there's the enigmatic Khamzat Chimaev, who's lurking in the shadows like a ninja, waiting for his chance to strike. Even though he's not in the conversation right now, his name is on everyone's lips, like a ghost haunting the arena. But wait, Shavkat Rakhmonov is another candidate to consider. He's a relative newcomer to the UFC, but has already got the MMA world buzzing with his impressive record and ruthless fighting style. Despite all these choices available, it looks like Dana White's hell-bent on playing favorites for some reason. Everyone knows that Colby Covington isn't actually the welterweight champion that everyone thinks he is. I know, it's hard to believe. When you look at his record, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. He's got a few wins here and there, but none of them are against anyone with an active UFC win streak. And the important thing is that it's been over a year since Covington has stepped into the octagon. Meanwhile, other fighters are chomping at the bit for a title shot and have active win streaks. But no, the UFC just can't resist Covington's trash talk and flair for promotion. Here's the real kicker. At UFC 286, Rocky showed that he's got the skills. His takedown defense and striking were on point. He outclassed Kamaru Usman in their trilogy fight. And a lot of fans want him to go against Khamzat Chimaev. After all, Chimaev was undefeated in the welterweight division, absorbing just one strike while dishing out over 100, and seemed destined for greatness. But then, tragedy struck. Chimaev missed weight by 7.5 pounds for his fight against Nate Diaz. His misfortune continued as UFC president Dana White announced that he would be moving up to middleweight. Chimaev had all the makings of a champion, the skills, the charisma, and the ability to dominate his opponents. But now, the welterweight division will have to make do without him, so it's unlikely Rocky will have a match against him. Even though, you really might have wanted a bout between Chimaev and Edwards. Don't forget there are other potential fighters to consider as well. Because there's a man on a mission, and his name is Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. Remember that time Masvidal walked away from his own interview to confront Edwards after his knockout win over Till? Now, Edwards is eyeing the Burns vs Masvidal fight with the hunger of a lion eyeing a gazelle. He wants his chance at vengeance and an easy payday. But let me just call a spade, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money. You're seriously mistaken if you think that's all there is to Masvidal. He has competed in various weight classes, including lightweight and welterweight. On top of that, he has a record of 35 wins and 16 losses in his career. Masvidal's fighting style is primarily based on his striking abilities, particularly his boxing skills. He has a quick and powerful jab, which he often uses to set up his other strikes. Masvidal also has excellent footwork and head movement, which allows him to avoid his opponent's strikes and counter effectively. One of Masvidal's signature moves is his flying knee strike, which he used to devastating effect in his fight against Ben Askren. So, if a bout between Rocky and Gamebred happens, Rocky better watch out. Hold up though. There's someone who's been served a good old serving of bad luck. It's none other than Belal Muhammad. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around and let me introduce you to the most deserving contender in the UFC welterweight division. Muhammad's riding a 9-fight winning streak. Muhammad's victories over Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, and Stephen Thompson are as impressive as a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. He's one of the few fighters who can truly say he has earned his spot in the rankings. Muhammad's journey to the top has been like climbing Mount Everest with a broken leg. But he's yet to complete a fight against a top 5 opponent. To add insult to injury, UFC is looking to book him against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Now, Rakhmonov is a great fighter, but Muhammad deserves better than that. If not a title shot, at least give the man a fight against Usman. But wait, there's more. His performance against Brady was a step in the right direction, but he still needs to win over the fans who think he's a boring fighter. Muhammad's case is solid, but the question remains, will he get the shot he deserves? Maybe even against Rocky? The only thing you can do is wait to see what happens. And then there's the potential in a Rocky vs. Burns fight. Gilbert Burns. He's been in the mix for a while now, but hasn't quite done enough to stand out from the pack. Losses to Usman and Chimaev didn't do him any favors, but he's still got some steam left in his engine. Burns has proven himself to be a threat both on the ground and on the feet, with his grappling skills paired with reliable power in his hands. He made quick work of Neil Magny, but if he can dominate Masvidal, he'll solidify his standing in the division. You all know how Rocky's eagerly waiting for the results of the Burns vs. Masvidal fight. And don't forget, he could give Edwards a run for his money in the octagon. He's got some wins under his belt, but it's not quite enough to overcome the UFC's love affair with Colby Covington. And it certainly doesn't measure up to the impressive stretch that Belal Muhammad has been on. But enough of that. Time to talk about the rising star of the welterweight division, Shavkat Rakhmonov. This guy is a force to be reckoned with, and he's been making waves in the UFC with his impressive record of 17-0, with 17 stoppages. That's right, this guy doesn't just win, he obliterates his opponents. But Rakhmonov isn't just a one-trick pony. He's got the skills to pay the bills, with 9 submissions and 8 KOs to his name. And his recent Fight of the Night performance against Jeff Neal, Rakhmonov proved he's not just a finisher, but he's got the durability and toughness to go the distance as well. Of course, there were a few defensive gaps in the Neal fight that he'll need to work on. A win over Belal Muhammad would be a great step forward for Rakhmonov, even if it's a bit of an insulting proposition for Muhammad. Alternatively, if he can take on the winner of Burns vs. Masvidal, he'll be well on his way to becoming a future title challenger. Then, maybe, the UFC will finally consider him to go up against Edwards. But here's the thing. The UFC is a business machine, where money talks and merit takes a back seat. UFC President Dana White believes that Colby Covington is the most deserving of the next title shot. And why is that, you ask? Because Covington has the potential to bring in the most cash for the promotion. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that the UFC is a promotion first and a sports league second. So, as much as you'd like to see fighters get their due based on merit alone, the almighty dollar often reigns supreme. But hey, that's just the reality of the fight game. And that's all on why picking a #1 contender for Leon Edwards is difficult.